Hi, my dear students. For today's lesson, we'll talk about the concept of null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. We'll also practice how to formulate them in words. Let's get started. What is hypothesis? A hypothesis is something more than a wild guess, but less than a well-established theory. In science, a hypothesis needs to go through a lot of testing before it gets labeled a theory. In non-scientific world, the word is used a lot more loosely. A detective might have a hypothesis about a crime. A mother might have a hypothesis about who spilled juice on a rug. Anyone who uses the word hypothesis is making a guess. Let's use an example to understand this better. Suppose Mr. Adonis has created video lessons to improve the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students. He integrated these video lessons into his classes for a month and claimed that the students' academic performance improved. To test Mr. Adonis' assumption about the effectiveness of video lessons, we need to express our assumption into two opposing statements, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis typically represents a statement of no effect, no change, no difference, while the alternative hypothesis is what you're trying to support or demonstrate. It is often framed as the opposite of the null hypothesis. Now, going back to the example earlier, where Mr. Adonis implemented the integration of video lessons to enhance the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students, let's formulate the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. So what's going to be our null hypothesis? The null hypothesis is denoted by H, then small letter O, while the alternative hypothesis is denoted by H, then small letter A. Or it could also be H sub 0 for the null hypothesis and H sub 1 for the alternative hypothesis. But let's use HA and HO. So what's going to be our null hypothesis? The null hypothesis can be stated as the integration of video lessons has no significant effect on the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students. Now, the opposite of this statement would be that the integration of video lessons has significant effect on the academic performance of grade 11 ABM students. So this is what Mr. Adonis is trying to prove, that the integration of video lessons resulted in a significant improvement in the academic performance. Now let's practice. We'll have 5 examples. Feel free to pause the video and try to formulate your own null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Let's get started. Number 1, a company claims that their new energy drink increases focus and alertness in consumers. To test this claim, a researcher conducts a study comparing the reaction times of participants who consume the energy drink to those who do not. Now let's recall what a null hypothesis and alternative hypotheses are. The null hypothesis is a statement that suggests that there's no effect, no difference in variables being studied. It represents the status quo or the belief that there's no change. The alternative hypothesis, on the other hand, is a statement that suggests that there's an effect, a difference, or a relationship between variables. It represents the claim or the hypothesis that the researcher is trying to prove. In this case, the null hypothesis would be that the energy drink has no significant effect on focus and alertness. This can be stated as consuming the energy drink does not affect reaction times. Now, there are many ways how you can write the null hypothesis. And this is one way to do this. Now, the mean reaction time of participants who consume the energy drink is the same as the mean reaction time participants who do not consume the energy drink. Now, with this null hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis would be consuming the energy drink increases reaction times. So, meaning the mean reaction time of the participants who consume the energy drink is different from the mean reaction time who do not consume the energy drink. Now let's go to number 2. The principal believes that the integration of Mr. Adonis' video lessons improves students' academic performance in probability and statistics. To test this belief, the principal collects data on the students' grades before and after implementing the program. Formulate the null and alternative hypotheses for these studies. So what's going to be our null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis? The null hypothesis can be stated as the integration of Mr. Adonis' video lessons does not improve students' academic performance in probability and statistics. So what's going to be your alternative hypothesis? The integration of Mr. Adonis' video lessons improves the student's academic performance in probability and statistics. So as you can see, the null hypothesis suggests that there's no difference in the academic performance before and after the implementation of the program, while the alternative hypothesis suggests that there's a positive difference indicating an improvement in the academic performance. Number 3, the school administration in Marikina believes that the students prefer online classes over face-to-face classes. However, a group of students suspect that this may not be true. To test this, they conducted a survey asking students whether they prefer online classes or face-to-face classes. Formulate the null and alternative hypotheses for these studies. So again, in hypothesis testing, the null hypothesis is typically a statement of no effect, no change, no difference. So if the school administration believes that students prefer online classes over face-to-face classes, then the null hypothesis would be the majority of students prefer online classes over face-to-face classes. And the alternative hypothesis would be the majority of students prefer face-to-face classes over online classes. So these hypotheses are set up to test whether there's enough evidence to reject the null hypothesis in favor of the alternative hypothesis, suggesting that students actually prefer face-to-face classes over online classes. Number 4, a group of teachers found that the average absenteeism for grade 11 students during an online class was 9. After implementing an internet allowance program for a sample of 25 students, they question if the program effectively improves attendance by reducing absenteeism. So imagine if you were to receive a certain amount of money for attending your online classes. This is the concept of an internet allowance program. The question is, would this motivate you to attend your classes? The answer may vary from person to person. Some may find it motivating while others may not. And that's why there's a need to conduct a research to understand the impact of such program. Now let's define again what a null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Now the alternative hypothesis is a statement that suggests that there's an effect, a difference, or a relationship between variables. It represents the claim or the hypothesis that the researcher is trying to prove. In this case, the null hypothesis would be that the internet allowance program has no effect on absenteeism. So there are many ways how you can state this, and one way to state this would be the average absenteeism for grade 11 students remains 9 after implementing the internet allowance program. Now, the alternative hypothesis would be the mean absenteeism for grade 11 students is less than 9 after implementing the internet allowance program. So that would suggest that the program is effective. Number 5, after the modified enhanced community quarantine was put in place, there was a decrease in the number of COVID-19 cases. Now, can you think of a statement of no effect, no change, no difference in this scenario where MECQ was put in place and there was a decrease in the number of COVID-19 cases? So the null hypothesis would be the implementation of modified enhanced community quarantine has no significant effect on reducing the number of COVID-19 cases. Now, the opposite of this statement would be the implementation of modified enhanced community quarantine results in a significant improvement, reducing the number of COVID-19 cases. And that's how you formulate the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis for a study. Now let's put your understanding to a test with a quiz. The link to the quiz is on the Google form. It's on Google form in the description below. So that's it for today. Practice. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.